Live from the Whiskey 61 Lounge inside the Bank Plus studio.
You are listening to
Mississippi's #1 sports talk show, The Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds. Streaming worldwide live on the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9. The Zone.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. We'll have Chris Lemonis coming up in a few minutes here, head baseball coach at Mississippi State, their preseason top 10. We'll discuss what it's like to not really have played a competitive game in 10 months, 11 months? Odd. But we're going to have college baseball this year, which is exciting for the Dogs and the Rebs and the Golden Eagles, Delta State, among other teams. We're live in the Bank Plus studio, Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We are rolling on YouTube right now. You can watch the show. Would love for you to subscribe. Go to YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports, and you can watch the show. And Blake's wearing an Orange Bowl hat this morning. From what year is that, Blakey Blakester?
It's like 93 or something like that.
Was Miami in it? I don't know. We'll have to check on that. So you may see Blake, you may not. I'm not sure. But I'm talking about on the cameras. But I'm telling you that he's wearing an Orange Bowl hat this morning. The Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone. SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue. The official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Baseball season is around the corner, thank goodness. And we welcome in Chris Lemonis, the head baseball coach for Mississippi State. Coach Lemonis joins us on the Coors Light guest line. Coach, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, I'm glad that we're having you on, and we feel pretty confident that we're going to have games this spring. How about you?
Yeah, we're real confident. We're going to it looks like we're going to be playing a lot of games. So we spent a lot of time doing the schedule and figuring that out. Now everybody's figuring out tickets, and it's a beautiful weather today, so it feels like baseball season. So it's a lot of positivity.
I bet. All right, so where are you driving into Duty Noble right now?
I'm actually going to work out, so I'm sitting outside the gym.
Okay.
How's that? So
all right.
Baseball season, you got to get back in your uniform. So that's the key.
Well, let's start with this pitching staff, and people are talking about, Christian McLeod and Will Bednar and Eric Sarantola, but I'd like for you to tell me a little bit more about Will Bednar, who looks like is going to be your Saturday starter, Coach.
Yeah, he is very talented, and as a freshman, he jumped into our weekend rotation last year at the very end. So the season ended abruptly, but he would have gone on to have a pretty special year. It's a physical right-handed pitcher. It's a real velocity. I mean, it'll be mid-90s most of the time when he pitches. A plus slider, and just a real competitive kid. He pounds the strike zone. He is just a competitor, and we're excited about him.
Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds Show and the Coors Light guest line. So we've been hearing about Eric Sarantola for several years now, and his talent, and if he can get his control and get the ball over the plate consistently, then I guess the sky's the limit. How do you feel with where Sarantola is today compared to a year ago, Coach?
No, we're excited. I mean, he has made a progression every year, and it really kind of hurt him probably the most having a COVID where you don't pitch the rest of the season, you don't pitch in the Cape Cod League. But he's came back. He's been in great shape. His stuff is really good. And every time he goes out there, he's just a little bit better. I don't know if being from Canada, he's a little behind but he's really learned a lot. And, his last really good outing, we played at Long Beach State there right before COVID ended, and he had an unbelievable outing and throwing a ton of strikes, and that's what we're looking forward to with him. I mean, if he figures it out, you're talking about a guy in a rotation with, I mean, he's been up to 98, and it's one of the better, the analytics now is spin rate and all that. His curveball is one of the better curveballs in the country.
All right, so there's confidence there. And then Christian McLeod, I mean, we know about him, but, tell me what you and Foxhall are looking for from – I mean, all of them are going to go against unbelievable talent and teams. But, man, when you take the ball on Friday night in this league, talk about not just the physical piece, but the mental piece of that.
Yeah, I saw it in my first year, just being in the league the first year and watching what Ethan Small had to go through, just the week in, week out, being the first guy out there, facing the other guy's best guy. And Christian has that mentality. We love our staff. Our staff, we feel like has a chance to be one of the better staffs in the country. The only problem we have is they've never pitched in an SEC game. So we have 0 SEC wins. So that's a big piece for them that they're going to have to go out there and figure it out and compete. And they've pitched against great people, but pitching in our league, the way COVID hit, it just makes it a little different dynamic. So, but we're confident. Christian's such a worker. He's ready to go. Came back in great shape. Threw to our hitters last week, so he's ready to go. Looks like he's as good as I've seen him. So we're excited about him.
Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds show. Let's we may get back to the pitching, but let's go to the lineup. How do you replace Foscue and Westburg?
That's a tough one. So I don't know if you ever replace those guys with. You're not doing a 1-for-1. You're kind of replacing them with the entire group as much as you can. We have, Cameron James is a guy who started at third base for us last year. Very similar mold of Westy, big athletic shortstop, has had a good fall for us. We have a freshman infielder, Lane Forsythe, who is probably as good defensively as you could be. The smaller guy, but can really pick it, make plays, and it's been fun watching him evolve here in the fall. And then we brought in a grad transfer, Scotty DeBrule, from Jacksonville University, who was a 4-year starter. I think he hit 300 every year, played in the Cape. He's been really good for us since he's come in. So he's got a chance to run out there and play a lot at second and give us an older, mature guy. And he defends, he runs, he hits for a little pop. Kind of does a little bit of everything. So not Justin Foscue or Jordan Westburg, but some pretty good players, and, we're excited about them.
Is there how much of your lineup is set? Right.
Oh man, I don't know. It's tough because I don't know. There's different pieces to us. I mean, obviously you got Tanner Allen, Rowdy Jordan, Josh Hatcher, but third base is really floating. Left field's floating. DH, how we run our catchers, because we have 2 really good catchers. So I think we have a lot of pieces that can move around, and we need to see those different things as we're out there, and how we face rights and lefts. That's a big thing with us right now, is trying to figure out, who we're going to hit in each lineup. So we have some pieces. We do have some guys that are out there who are pretty solid. As like I said, they've played a lot of college baseball, but then we have some talented young guys that are pushing. So it's trying to keep everybody happy is going to be the hardest part for a coach this spring with expanded rosters.
Chris Lemonis on the Coors Light guest line talking Hail State baseball. They're preseason top 10 in several polls, and they're excited about both their pitching and the guys out in the field in the batting lineup. When you mentioned Rowdy Jordan and Tanner Allen, feels like they've been around forever. Nobody expected them to be in Starkville this year, I don't think. As much as they played, Chris, what do they bring to the dugout and kind of on a day-to-day basis to the club?
Well, on the day-to-day, they bring a lot of energy. They love to practice, getting out there, playing, doing. They still have work they're doing in their careers. Rowdy just moved over to center, so he's working really hard in center. And Tanner, he's playing right, so he's having to spend a lot of time. So it's not like they're just settled. They're having to really push. But it's the experience, it's the toughness, it's that I've been in every scenario you can imagine. I mean, if you go back to these guys as freshmen in 2018 and what they've gone through and everything, it just, there's no fear in these guys. It doesn't matter if we're facing a dude throwing 99 miles an hour or whatever, that you have this warrior mentality as you go into games with them. And probably a carryover from the Mangum McNamee group, but these, Josh Hatcher's in that mix too. Josh Hatcher has played a ton of college baseball at a really high level. So having those three guys back and the maturity they bring to the game is huge.
Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone. Chris Lemonis going into year 3, kind of, at Mississippi State.
2.5.
That's right. He joins us on the Coors Light guest line. This state is ready for some sunshine and some SEC and college baseball. There won't really be any exhibition, Coach. I mean, you jump right into it with an absolutely loaded tournament in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with Texas TCU and Texas Tech, all fantastic ball clubs, and they're loaded just like your club, Ole Miss, and Arkansas.
Yeah, everybody's asked us what we think about our club, and I'm not going to lie, I really like our team. We have a lot of depth, we have a lot of everything else, but the reality is so does the rest of the country, because of what happened. And you look at this tournament, I think every team, we have 6 teams that have been ranked in the top 12 in the country. So the talent level is going to be huge. The scouting of this event for our kids is going to be awesome because they're going to have every organization 5 deep, at this tournament. And then, on top of it, you run out and you're going to find out a lot about your team. I mean, we're playing Texas, and I think Texas is number 1, is projected as maybe the first college arm off the board or one of the college arms off the board. And, TCU and same with Texas Tech. I mean, you're running out there and playing the best, and it's supposed to be a great atmosphere. Telling us we could get 10 to 15,000, because the park is so big.
Ooh.
Their 25% is better, so we should have a pretty good crowd while we're out there.
That's exciting. For our listeners, it's the new Texas Rangers ballpark where Mississippi State will open up, I think, in the 11 a.m. game on that Friday of the tournament.
We are.
Okay. So that's exciting for the young men. Chris Lemonis joining us on the Coors Light guest line, talking about his Hail State Baseball Club as they're getting ready to kick off the season in a few weeks. And like we mentioned, Dallas-Fort Worth, new Texas Ranger Stadium, in a heck of an SEC Big 12 matchup. We've got a listener here who texts us about Brandon Smith. Ask Coach about his expectations for pitcher Brandon Smith from Richland, Mississippi. Coach?
Well, Brandon was, one of our weekend starters, we thought the fall before last, and had Tommy John. So he's just now back on the mound, pitching, looks great. As those guys come back from Tommy John, they just get stronger and stronger as time goes on. So we're expecting, Brandon to work his way into the mix, and hopefully by the end of the year he's, back to his normal self. I mean, he's been pretty good yet, but we scrimmage this weekend, so he'll be pitching this weekend. We'll get to see a little more of him there. But having an older, mature guy, I mean, as a freshman, I'm starting him in the opening night of the SEC tournament, and he beats LSU. So you have a guy there who, once again, has not scared, and he'll go out there and compete. And we're excited to have him back.
Give me a name that Mississippi State baseball fans may not know, but they may know 6 weeks into the season.
Well, we got a couple really talented freshmen that I'm excited about. But we got a junior college player, Parker Stinnett. Man, really, really talented arm. I think he's going to be kind of an X factor for us out of the bullpen. Just a mid-90s guy with a good slider, who I think, and we have a handful of guys like this that Coach Fox has done a great job of, one, recruiting, but also, developing guys. And I think that's what's going to be exciting about our team is we're going to have a handful of options there in the middle to late innings to throw out some real power arms, and might pitch in some ways like you saw Tampa Bay did this past year, of just 1 inning spurts and let a guy go out there and light it up and then go to the next guy. But we have a handful of guys kind of in that area.
What walk us through the expanded roster and how that impacts this season?
Well, it's really, it's good in some ways. At least the NCAA gave us more eligibility and gave us more room because, what happened is you get your seniors back. And so we had, 5 seniors come back. They all were pitchers for us. So it's, we have these 5 pitchers back, on our roster that we didn't expect. That's where when people talk about our pitching staff in depth, that you get that piece. And then on the other side, we went to a 5-round draft. And so we have 2 or 3 guys that we didn't think were showing up to school that are now in school. And so, it puts us at a bigger roster right now for our guys. And, trying to figure out who's who and where we're at, it will be a big part. I mean, I tell our coaches all the time, the cultural piece, and I'm not saying keeping guys happy because not everybody gets to play every day, but keeping guys getting better, developing, and keeping them invested will be a big part for us as coaches because that's one of the bigger challenges that we'll have.
I bet. Chris Lemonis, Hail State baseball coach, on the Coors Light guest line. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. What has recruiting been like as far as having to manage and balance COVID along with recruiting for the next 2 to 3 years? Because y'all have to scout guys like in 8th and 9th grade and things like that.
It's at first it wasn't as bad, but the longer we get away from being out there, it gets tougher and tougher. It's all virtual. It's all by recommendation. We take a lot of pride that we're pretty good evaluators and we can get out and see. And it's not always when you're in Mississippi State, you think you're always just taking the best guy. We try to, find the guy that fits us best. So as we're going through and we're getting farther away from it, it's slowing down for us a little bit because we're just trying to watch and see. And, we're hoping we get out there soon, but we haven't heard anything that's, giving us that heads up. And, it's frustrating because it's frustrating for us, but I can only imagine if you're the student athlete.
Sure.
If they come to campus, they have to come by themselves and walk around. I mean, it's really tough for these kids right now, and it's tough for the coaches too. I mean, we're not getting a lot of the makeup pieces or who's competing. I love going seeing a guy watching him go 0 for 4. And I know people would say, "Why would you like to see him not get a hit?" But I like to see how he acts. A lot of times in our game, there's a lot of failures. So you want to see how a guy plays when he doesn't play great, when you're there, and how he handles it. And, we're just not getting to see those pieces right now. So, but it is what it is, and we just have to keep fighting through it. We got great recruiters, and we have great contacts throughout the state and travel programs that have done a great job of helping us out. But hopefully they'll let us out soon.
MSU baseball around the corner. They'll start out in Dallas-Fort Worth, new Texas Rangers Stadium, and a heck of a tournament, SEC versus the Big 12. So it's Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Ole Miss, and Texas Tech, TCU, and Texas. So that's an exciting weekend of college football, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Are you concerned at all about power or pop in the lineup?
Well, we haven't. This group, we've probably lost a lot, and we haven't shown it. Usually power takes a little bit of time. 2 of our better power guys are Cameron James and Logan Tanner, our big catcher. And, they've been crushing balls. So it's hard for me to say I'm worried about it. We have to show it. I think that'll be the biggest piece. We're probably a little bit more of even in 19, we were middle of the pack with power in the league, but we led the league in doubles. We led the country in doubles, and so playing to our park a little bit, but it's, I think we'll be middle of the pack again in home runs. I think that'll be, I don't think that's what we're built off of, but I think we'll have enough in there.
Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds Show. Blake, you have a question for Coach Lemonis.
Yeah, Coach. You mentioned a little bit about it being a new team and not knowing what you have. And because you're replacing, not only are you replacing some pieces, but you're moving some pieces around and you haven't played in 11 months, how do you go into the season managing expectations on the field with kind of the hype around the team and the hype around the SEC in general? How do you manage that, especially walking into a first weekend where you could be really good and still lose a couple tight ball games to also really good teams?
Yeah, it usually becomes about us, so even though in our world there are a lot of expectations and there's a lot of fans in the college baseball world in Mississippi, but it's just about us getting better, and that's the biggest thing that we have to fight. And baseball is one of those games where you're going to have some ups and downs, probably a little bit more than other sports, just because of the nature of the game. But our expectations are to play the best that we can, and I know that's a lot of coach speak, but we talk about it a good bit here. There's a real piece about getting these guys to where they want to be professionally. So changing positions is one thing, but I feel like we do it because, Tanner Allen, we're doing it in a lot of ways so that he can have a better chance in professional baseball. So he's, the motivation for him there is huge too. So, I think a lot of it's just inside, our ball club and how we take it. And if we have a good weekend, we'll have to handle that. And if we have a bad weekend, we'll have to handle that the first weekend. And there is a lot of unknown just because we haven't played in so long and the excitement of everything. It'll be a lot of fun, but I'm sure we'll have a lot of game notes on Monday as we're heading home of all the things that we need to improve on. If we win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be a lot that we will evaluate after that first week.
Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds Show. We'll wrap it up with this. Coach, we have another question from a listener. Brandon Pimentel. I may have not have said that right, but
you got it perfect.
Does Coach Lemonis expect him to take the next step with his bat? Coach?
I expect it. He's been working really hard. He's in the fight for the left field job, so we have a lot going on out there in left field. He had a good fall. He's come back in good shape. He's ready to go. I'm hoping so. A lot of times your JUCO kids, they come in that first year. It's a little big for them. He started, I think, in the middle of the lineup for us last year and struggled in that first probably 16 games. But he's a good player. He's always hit, and we feel like he was going to have a chance to hit for us. And like I said, we have a little rotation out there in left field with him and Brad Cumbest and some other guys. So he'll get that opportunity early on.
We'll leave it there. Chris Lemonis, Mississippi State baseball coach on the Coors Light guest line. They'll open up in Texas. SEC versus the Big 12. Should be an exciting weekend of college football with the new Texas Rangers ballpark. Coach, thanks so much for your time. We'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Bo. Y'all take care.
You too. Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone. Hail State baseball coach coming off, Blake, a College World Series appearance in his first season?
Yeah.
Yeah.
19.
And then they played 16 games last year. His last 2 games were 2 wins over Texas Tech, who was ranked, I think, 3rd in the country at that time. They played him down at the Biloxi Shuckers ballpark.
Right. MGM Park.
Yeah, right across from the Bow.
I've called games there for the Braves. It's a sweet park. You can see the ocean over the right field fence. It's cool.
It is very.
It's a fun little place.
Very cool. So Chris Lemonis on the Out of Bounds Show and the Coors Light guest line is MSU will open up they're the first game on that Friday, Blake, at 11 a.m.
Every day,
all through the weekend. Yes. So 11 a.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That'll be fun, man.
Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Arkansas, TCU, Texas Tech, Texas.
Yeah, you can get tickets, I believe, from what I read, is $50 for a weekend pass, and that gets you into all 9 games. That's the closest thing to Omaha will be this opening weekend tournament.
Incredible. MSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas, TCU, Texas, and Texas Tech. And it's Major League Baseball prospects all over the place. And if the weather holds, it will be an amazing weekend of college baseball. I mean, just rosters that are stockpile full of blue chippers and MLBers and draft picks and so on. So that's going to be exciting. We appreciate Coach Lemonis stopping by the show on the Coors Light guest line. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. The show is presented by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue. The official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds Show, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Mike Detillier coming up at 8:30 on the Miller Lite guest line.